So good afternoon. Well, that was a kind of world record, actually, 45 minutes. I can't beat that. My name is Martin Graf. I work for Swisscom and running what's typically called the API program. Started in 2013, so 5 years back into the journey. We heard a lot about this morning about all the things about standardization, governance, architecture, the patterns and the stuff. So everything what has been said basically is like ticking the box. Yes, yes, yes. You need to do this. The other thing was digital transformation, changing culture, mindset. Yes, okay. And how are you going to do this in a large organization? Yes, you need to do this, right? And by the way, there's a whole community out there that wants something from your company, and there's a community internally that wants to build something, right? And typically they have like different interests. You need to satisfy these two community as well, tick in the box, right? So that's pretty much sums it up what the challenge is, that it's overwhelming, right? Where are you going to start? What's the first step you're going to do? I need to build up the governance first and everything, the standardization before I go to build something or whatever, right? So this is actually, our journey is actually exactly along those questions. I want to kind of emphasize a little bit on the key learnings, and hopefully you can take away so you don't make the same mistakes, or actually you can just profit from what we learned. So this is the agenda. Again, I'm going to quickly go through the journey, but I want to just emphasize on the key learnings here. The first thing, of course, is just if you're about to start a program, or maybe you run a program maybe 1 or 2 years, and you just realize there's a couple of challenges. It's not going the way you want. There's some, management wants this, the developer wants that. You kind of, doesn't get right in your head and say, okay, maybe you can. What is it I need to do? How can I improve my program? How can I improve the situation? So the thing is, when you start, obviously you need something, you need some funds, right? Without money, nothing gets off. In our case, it was an innovation budget, a couple $1 million or Swiss francs per year that from the whole budget basically was carved out. Basically, they thrown at a bunch of people and said, okay, do something, right? That's pretty much it. That was the mandate, right? So we had the technology, we bought software, we had a whole infrastructure, geo-redundant, high scalable infrastructure. We had a bunch of people, and the mandate was pretty much, well, do something, right? And that is ultimately a problem. So no matter what, but okay, you have the situation, and you will, through the journey, you will have those situations again and again, and they come in different ways, right? It's not always like when you start, but no matter what the key learnings is, don't wait for somebody else to tell you what to do. Don't wait for the next thing that you need to establish and figure out before you do something. You do something. You use what we learned is a learning organization. You start, build, you build it, you deploy it, you measure it, you analyze the feedback from whoever it is, internal community, external customer community, no matter what, and you improve. So that's the thing, basically, that keeps us going as a group within the organization and as a program in the organization, that we learn, and we kind of also love the vicious cycle of lean startup. Okay, keep going, learning, analyze, and improve, no matter where you are in your journey. So, as I said, pretty much when I joined Swisscom, all I had was a bunch of guys and the technology and the mandate that says, do something, right? And we heard a lot about death this morning, or actually from a colleague. Also, we had a near-death situation, because at that point, 2 years into the journey, we spent millions and we had nothing. Right? Management was saying, where are all these APIs? Where is the community that we're expecting you to build up internally and externally? And there was nothing there. Which then actually kind of say, okay, we need to do something here. And it's something very fundamental. We'll say, you know what? I need to have a mandate. I need to have a handshake with senior executive. That kind of a handshake tells whatever, gives us structure, gives us purpose. What is that we need to do here? It's a question about the why. Not the what and the how, right? That follows, but the why, the purpose. And so we had this series of meetings with senior executives to figure out basically what is that they want us to do, what's the purpose. Because there's multiple purposes, multiple objectives that you can achieve with APIs. I just mentioned those typical generate new revenues, new experiences, retention, stimulate business and innovation, and this kind of thing. So what is it you want? And the response was pretty much saying, okay, we have Swisscom, $10 billion company, 70,000 employees, and we are actually envisioning this whole company kind of put into an API, right? Okay, get on it. So kind of thinking the platform thinking, right? I say, well, that's fair enough. Okay, thank you very much. I walked away and say, okay, and with that, we had, of course, through a couple of iterations, we came up with some purpose, and we said, we defined our purpose of this group of leading digital, because that was the mandate was given by senior executives to us, like, okay, you need to lead this company into the digitalization. So purpose was fundamental, because until then we had to struggle day in and day out about what we're doing, how we're doing it, the kind of stuff, right? Once we had that defined, and it was a collaborative approach, then these questions were gone. And it helped us tremendously, because now we could focus about the doing. The second big learning was, we had all these proxies, right? We heard this morning, proxies. You don't want to be proxies, correct. But what we built was a bunch of proxies, right? And we were kind of saying, okay, here it is, 120, as a KPI. Speaking of KPIs, that was totally nonsense, right? Because they were sitting there doing nothing. No consumers, no customers, they have nothing. It was just cost. A totally waste of time, 2 years. So again, we were duplicating all of them. 50% of our portfolio gone down the drain. Let's say, okay, what is it? Okay, so now we know what we don't want, but what exactly we want. And it was a fundamental thing. We realized, okay, if senior executive wants us to build the Swisscom as a platform, okay, obviously we need to think about us as the edge of Swisscom. So, okay, we're building these web APIs. At the edge of Swisscom, a bunch of like a facade of that embraces the capability of Swisscom, so consumers or customers and partners can use it. So that's the fundamental differentiation we realize about the web API, which is the edge of your company, or internal API. For the remainder of this presentation, I'm just going to talk about on that particular aspect of the web API. So the second thing we learned about APIs, it's not about the API. The API is just, it's just a URL. It's just a path, right? Nothing. It's just a facade. Okay, there's no value in itself. So what's the value in doing that? Okay, and then the value is that you solve a customer's problem, right? A particular narrow down requirement from the customer's business value and business process. You solve a particular problem. If you do that well, by means of an API, because that's a service, then you're doing the right thing. So what we learned is, okay, don't think, from kind of outside in. Start with the customer, understand the problem, nail it down, come up quickly with a first iteration of a solution, and then iterate rapidly. There's no such thing of going on a whiteboard and draw your perfect API. It won't happen. So you have to go in the iteration. Again, it's a vicious cycle of startup, lean startup. Basically, you go out quickly, you analyze, you sit down with the customer, and you learn and improve, and you come back with the next better version. So the fundamental thing that we realize is not about the API. It's not about the technology that runs the API. It's not. This all doesn't matter. The most important thing is that the value generated by the API, and that's measured not by you, but by your customer. So if you have something, a high value chain of your customer, and you're able to solve a particular problem in that value chain, the customer is more than happy to pay you something, to give you something in return. That could be money, right? If you're able to monetize, could be something else. I need to look at the time. There's no time on the... here we go. Thank you. Okay. So, next thing was, we talked about this project versus product, right? This morning a couple of times, same thing. All our things were done like all project-driven projects. They were custom solutions, very specific to one use case and one use case only. And again, that didn't help. That didn't allow us to build a digital building block that is use case or customer agnostic, because that's what the product is all about. Okay, if you have a product that can be equally consumed by multiple consumers. So there was a whole thing about the project-driven APIs and the product-driven APIs, and we were kind of looking around saying, okay, there's established methods, approaches, principles, standards, how to build products. Why don't we apply those equally to building an API as a product? And we call that digital product. And that's also a fundamental thing in terms of productization, that you think of of your API as a digital building block, as a product, and as a product as by means of all the angles, all the 360 degrees that you have to think about. Of course, it's about the design itself, the product, but also about the promotion, about the price. Right? Sometimes you want to monetize these things, and you can, and you should, in fact. Right? And your place, how I'm going to market this thing. Okay? Is it enough just to put it up on GitHub or some web portal, basically, and then that's it? Is this good enough? What's your strategy on this? So it keeps you thinking, or starts you thinking about these fundamental questions about around the product. There's a link here. There's a book that's been some of my colleagues also writing. It's Incremental is a book about product management and APIs. Anybody interested in more detailed about API product design, what it takes, actually more welcome to check it out. So I mentioned about, since we are in the product space now, it's about the business, the product itself, the price, the promotion, and the place. So one of the things we also realized, like, okay, putting up the APIs on even the fanciest of the web portal is not sufficient. We had that within Swisscom, but it was just sitting there. There was no corporate endorsement of this portal, and also consumers, customers, and partners. They didn't go to the portal. They were going to the standard channels of Swisscom, right, to engage in professional work, in engagement, right? So we had something sitting there, but it was not consumed. It was not being endorsed, but neither by Swisscom itself, sales, as well as by customers and partners. So what's the strategy? And we realized, like, okay, in this particular telco industry in Switzerland, there's no point of creating a separate channel with a portal and attract consumers. We have to somehow find a way to inject or infuse value into Swisscom corporate products. And that's what we've done. So Swisscom has a bunch of corporate products, voice and messaging and all the other telcos, and plus some other identity management. And what we realized is like, okay, our building blocks are now just features, right, or inject value of corporate products. To make an example, we have this product called Smart Business Connect. It's a voice and collaborative product that we're selling into the small and medium market. We built voice as a digital building block, and now we've injected this voice API or building block into the Smart Business Connect product. And now we market this feature, this capability, as part of the corporate product. So from an API product perspective, okay, this is our main channel, right? I don't have to do anything. In fact, I have a little bit of support of the customer, of the product manager, basically, to make sure basically that the data sheet is ready, the monetization is ready, everything is ready. But we now appear with this capability called voice in one of the Swisscom core products. And we do that with the majority of our building blocks. They are all embedded and as a feature into various different corporate products. The messaging product, the collaboration products that we have, and also identity products that we have. And for example, we have another product here, actually it's called Smart Catalogs. It's just an e-procurement product. So you can change your order of any subscription, mobile subscription. So we encapsulated this thing into a product, And the not to go is just the product, is a corporate product that we sell to enterprise businesses. And this feature called Smart Catalogs became, or is now part of that overall product and been sold. And in fact, customers, corporate customers using this product, consuming the API from within their application environment are happy to pay back something because they can save a lot of money, right? There's a new digital experience. They're saving the back office because there's not only needed who managing the mobile subscription of Swisscom API, right? And in return, they give us something back. So that generates net new revenue for Swisscom. As a second channel, we have also an API portal. In fact, we call that, it's the next generation of portal. It's a digital marketplace. In fact, it is a marketplace, bringing provider and consumers together with a handshake because we also manage the subscription, the handshake itself. Okay, we maintain all the community. We maintain all the credentials management in the platform. We do also offer support. So if a consumer, a provider, the API is not working properly, so that's the channel they go. They automatically a support. They can submit the ticket to Swisscom ticketing system, and it will be picked up within the Swisscom. So we kind of embraced everything that we have a capability with Swisscom, right? We put it up and into the marketplace. Again, that's also happening in small chunks, right? In small chunks, we took about a year to build it up. We put up an MVP. We learned and improved, and ever since now, every 4 weeks, we have another drop with new functionality. We're not, but ultimately, the goal is to have a full lifecycle journey that implemented within the marketplace. But also, then the third channel is the Swisscom Cloud or other cloud that we deploy our products. So the conclusion is, again, fundamental takeaways. Okay, no matter where you are in the journey at the very beginning or midterm or maybe even like, is always you will find obstacles and blockers and issues. Things are changing. Don't worry about this, too much. Just just analyze the thing. Look at the data. Look at the stats. Focus on creating value. Get up back on your feet and improve, right? And do that just constantly. There's nothing you can do wrong basically if you generate value. Technology matters, but it doesn't create value, right? At the beginning, it was just cost, right? So you have to think about technology is important. Yes, you need a world-class technology like the API management system, right? Yes, you need a whole geo-redundant, scalable, secure infrastructure. Yeah, you need that, right? Otherwise, of course, you can't do this. But again, this is not enough. This is not sufficient without creating value. Understand your customers. Again, who are your customers? Our customers are Swisscom enterprise customer and Swisscom small, medium customers. We can name them. We know them by name. I can walk in every of these buildings and these companies basically, and they know me, and I can introduce me and I can sell them, right? So we know them. That's our community. At the beginning, we had this kind of naive idea that we're going to attract worldwide community of using Swisscom Telco API. It's not going to happen. Focus on the service, product management. Again, very important is like understanding that your thing is not a proxy, it's a product, it's a life cycle, it continuously improve, creating value. Every time that you deliver a new drop, a new feature, it's all about the value that you generate. And the more problems that you solve with your customers, and the higher value, the value chain is of your customer, the biggest the reward. We have a small community, about 20 people, like a central API team. And about a year ago, we changed that. It's about scaling in the organization. And we just, what we heard this morning, also from my colleagues from Tele2, it's like now a totally different ball game about how you're going to scale this within an organization, right? 20 people knowing what they're doing, that's fine. We have about 1,500 people doing some software engineering. How are we going to scale? But we laid the foundation, right? The principles, standards, and we showed what can be done and what's the impact to the business. And that's a big leverage that you have into your organization, because you don't need to justify what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing and why is this good for the company, because you've just shown that it works, and that helps tremendously. So right now we're just scaling up to about 1,200 people. with what we learned, so that we go into a totally distributed environment that everyone in the Swisscom community, the local community, can build APIs based on what we learned. Thank you very much.